And we're live. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the segment called El Billetu. And Billetu is something in Colombian Spanish for, I guess, making money. But without further ado, today we have a special guest, Julian, one of the early Bitcoin adopters, and here on this YouTube channel, Klaus and I, who will be coming shortly, are big cryptocurrency enthusiasts. And we got a lot of feedback, positive and negative. But yeah, we're here and we're debunking the FUD out there, and we're telling everyone to buy the dip and hold. So, Julian, welcome to the channel, to the stream, and thank you for coming on. Yeah, tell us a bit about yourself and the early adoption of Bitcoin.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
My honor.
Yeah, so I was in college, right, and I had just changed my major from finance to computer science, and I was just kind of into all things tech in New York City, and I was actually, I actually was part of a penny stock mailing list. And I think that the guy that ran the mailing list, he was like a libertarian. So, between his pump and dumps, he would talk about this thing called Bitcoin. And he treated it more like it was gold, right? Not like it was a stock or anything like that. It was just like, hey, you want to buy this and hold on to it. And I thought it was really cool, right? I thought the idea seemed cool. And I started tracking it. I downloaded a widget on my Android phone to just, track the price. And when I was watching it, he was kind of pumping it because he was saying it was going to break $1. And it did. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, I guess I missed that. Because I still wasn't understanding, like, how could I buy it? How could I get it? Right? How could I get in and out? And so I remember I was on Scottrade, and I even called the Scottrade people, and I was like, yo, how do I buy Bitcoin? And they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And so, it tanked a little, then it went to like $3. And I was like, okay, well, this is crazy. But, I really don't know how to get in. And it wasn't until about, 2012 where I kept that widget on my phone. And I pretty much just Googled the shit out of it. Like, how can I get Bitcoin? Right? Like, I need to get into this. And luckily for me, being in New York, we had a company called BitInstant. It was pretty much the only way for Americans to easily get Bitcoin in the United States in 2012. And they were located in New York. They were located here in the city. And Charlie Shrem ran that. He's the guy that introduced the Winklevoss twins to Bitcoin. They invested in BitInstant and launched it from Midtown. And, it was a small community back then. And so it was a real personal thing. It wasn't like, hey, just click this button, put your bank information. Like, I was on the phone with Charlie and waiting for him. Back then, I had to MoneyGram the money to a company in San Francisco, and the company in San Francisco then sent the money to Charlie. And so we had to call him to verify all the steps in that process. That's what it was like in 2012. And yeah, I mean, that was the beginning of pretty much, my existence in crypto, which has been pretty interesting. 2013 was even crazier for me. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could jump into that 2013. So pretty much in Charlie's office, there was this guy. He was from NYU, Yifu Gao. And he was talking about he was going to launch the first ASIC miners on Bitcoin, right? And back then, you used to be able to mine Bitcoin from your computer, or some people were setting up GPUs. And there was a small window of time where people were messing around with FPGAs, FGPAs, and this thing ASICs was like a myth. It was like a specialty machine, worth probably thousands of dollars that if you got a hold of would just mint Bitcoin like crazy. So this guy Yifu was renting a office out of Charlie's office, and Charlie vouched for him. So I ended up being one of the first ASIC miners on Earth. I was actually number 67, and the box was $1,600. I bought $2,000 from Charlie, gave Yifu 16, and bought $400 worth of Bitcoin. Back then it was like at $22, the beginning of 2013. And it took 8 months for me to get the box. And honestly, guys, I was furious because in that time, Bitcoin had gone from 22 to like 110, right? And I thought like, I wasted all this time waiting for this box. I'm just going to set it up and mine all the coins I can and sell them because I want my money back. All the money I missed, had it tied up in this project. And I got in the summer of 2013 towards the end, right around now, about August. And I just was mining 24/7. The machine mined 2.2 Bitcoin in 24 hours. So I was mining like crazy. Pretty much by November, I had over 200 Bitcoin between mining and buying. And I pretty much sold. I sold. I was selling it as it was coming. I had no idea. Right in December of that year, it skyrocketed to 1,300, and I was just like, "Yo, this is just too crazy." I don't think anybody knew, right, what was going on. Also, at that time, I had, like I said, guys, I had dug even deeper into crypto, and I ended up working for the Bitcoin magazine. And the Bitcoin magazine, the co-founder of the Bitcoin magazine is Vitalik Buterin. So Vitalik is the founder of Ethereum. That weird looking Russian dude. He was younger than me. He was in Canada at the time. I worked for him, and it was 7 of us, and I was pretty much the last hire. And it was just a process of reviewing all the projects that were coming out, and then this big thing that Vitalik was working on, which was Ethereum. So I was one of the first 20 people to receive the white paper from him directly. And at the time, honestly, guys, I'm probably the biggest idiot in this live stream right now. I didn't believe in it. I was focused on Bitcoin. I was focused on the magazine. I didn't understand why he was leaving the magazine. I didn't understand why he wanted to launch his own project, right? And I didn't. He he offered me 10,000 ETH for $1,000. And guys, I kid you not, I thought he was trying to scam me. I was like, "Yo, Vitalik, you just made this out of nowhere. Like, why don't you just give me the coins?" And it wasn't about the money. It was about the backing and everything, right? And man, I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it. And then the last I heard of him or heard from him, he had gone to Miami. At the time we'd hosted a bunch of conferences. Like I did the Jacob Javits Center Bitcoin event that year, 2013. And so we were hosted conferences all the time, and he was going to Miami, and he told me, he said, "Yo, Julian, come with me." And I didn't go. I was just like, "Yo, you're going to be back in 2 days. We'll talk when you get back." And one day, 2 days turned into 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 2 months. And he stayed out there. And that's where he got his co-founders for Ethereum. I am not a co-founder on Ethereum.
Got it.
He Skyped me from Miami. He says, "Yo, Julian, you should really come down, man. This is really awesome shit we're doing." And that was the last time I heard of him.
Wow. Julian, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So what were the cities? I'm assuming it was New York, Silicon Valley, and New York, and Miami that were the cutting edge cities that were, early in Bitcoin, like the innovators, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was definitely
from your experience.
It was definitely New York City. New York City was ground zero, right? Because we had the Bitcoin Center on Board Street. So it was right. It was 4 buildings down from the New York Stock Exchange. So we had like a physical location, and this was like a big deal, right? It was right there in the middle of Wall Street. My presence there was really to, Bitcoin Magazine used to be a print magazine, and I used to distribute the magazine for free to all the major meetup groups. We had like 3 major meetup groups throughout New York City. And if you were like in DC or Massachusetts, you would pretty much come to New York. Miami just happened to host that conference, and there was really nothing there. That's why it was kind of like out of left field. And San Francisco was pretty focused on just Silicon Valley tech stuff.
Yeah.
Right. With the exception of like Brian Armstrong doing Coinbase, there was not really much. They didn't focus on Bitcoin really at all. That's why I think Coinbase got out in front of it so early, because he's the only guy like doing it. The only other thing, what really happened was towards the end of 2013, the beginning of 2014, the government started closing down on crypto hard, like really hard. So like Dread Pirate Roberts, right? That guy, Ross Ulbricht, he was in San Francisco. He was the guy who started Silk Road. So they sent him to jail. And what we were hearing was he's going to jail for life. Like at the time, we didn't know what he did. So we just thought like, oh shit, like they are so pissed at Bitcoin. Like we're all going to jail, right? And then in New York, they passed a series of laws, the bit license laws. Lawsky had a whole trial and everything. I didn't fucking show up. And it was just like all Bitcoin businesses in New York specifically were like, it was Armageddon. It was that's it. Everyone just left or shut down. And so between the money that I had made mining and the different things that I'd done, I didn't know what my liability was, right? Like I didn't know, like, should I even answer to this? Like, what are they looking for? Am I gonna fucking go to jail like Ross? Like, so it was bad. Oh, and really what was the last nail in the coffin for me, Charlie Shrem ended up going to jail. Right. So like they hit him with like money laundering for running BitInstant and all this trash. And he went to jail for like a year and a half. Right. So when Charlie went to jail, it was just like, yo, this is ridiculous. So really the Bitcoin scene that year, 2014, disappeared from the United States. Everybody ended up going out to Europe, including Vitalik. And so that's when Vitalik started, he camped out in Europe a little bit. Europe was your more traditional subversive hacker style kind of stuff. Like a lot of
are we talking like Switzerland or Eastern Europe, like Hungary and
so we're
places like those?
So Zug was like the place for like open entrepreneurship related to crypto. But it like in Spain, parts of France, and like London, they like these people lived in like hacker like compounds, like yeah. It gets crazy. So like you guys could probably look up this guy Amir Taki. He was like super anarchistic, and he really like, yeah, these guys, they were cool. I love them. Like that's why I got into it, right? Like I got into really it originally because this was like an outgrowth of Occupy Wall Street at the time, right? Occupy Wall Street was like 2011-ish, and the idea was like, hey, we're beating the establishment through technology. That's what I think a lot of us felt like. And specifically, almost virtually everybody at the magazine at that time. So when Vitalik left, the magazine ended up getting bought out by, just like a regular corporate thing. And so that culture is no longer there. But like the original people at Bitcoin Magazine were an extreme subversive group of hackers. And so, yeah, like, I wasn't going to pick up and just like go to fucking Europe. So I was pretty much out. And, but yeah, Vitalik ends up going to like Singapore, and then from like Singapore, sort of doing like a tour around China. And at that point is like 2015 where like the DAO hack happens. And then, he kind of, there you go.
Right. The flash crash.
Right.
Amir Taki.
This guy's a legend. He actually went into a war. Like this guy's crazy, man. This guy is like an anarchist.
Yeah. So brief biography for the audience that was listening. Briefly attended two British universities. Taki gravitated to the free software movement, assisted creation with SDL, Collide, and assisted a simple direct media layer. 2010.
If you look, this guy, I didn't want to say his name, but this guy, Cody Wilson, it's people like that. Like, so Cody was the guy behind Defense Distributed. So he was the first guy to 3D print guns in Texas, like here in America. And so like the feds, the ATF, the feds were like after him, and he had to leave the United States.
It's like the Yeah, it's like the case of Ruby Ridge, right, where the Feds, crypto anarchists and free market anarchists.
Yeah,
Gun rights
that's what it
activists,
was really
Benros
like.
for defense distributed.
Yeah, that's what it was really like. 2013, 2014.
Oh, shit.
It was
Wow.
it was cool shit. I mean, it was like this was literally like, I don't know if you guys remember like what like hacker movies were like in the 90s. Like that's what these guys thought that they were living. And for the most part they were, right? Like they made, I guess I made some decent money, but they made a shit ton of money, right?
Right.
And they used it for their anarchistic ideals. And we were all young, we were all young. Like I was fresh out of school. Vitalik basically dropped out of school. Yeah, this is
many of the hackers were across the political aisle, like whether they were anarchists, crypto, hackers, libertarians, and those that sought the rise of the Occupy Wall Street. So yeah. It's really interesting how
there was a lot of stuff happening at that time. A lot of people don't remember. There was, like the PlayStation hack, Lulsec. That guy was from the Lower East Side. He's a Puerto Rican dude from the Lower East Side. Sabu.
Sabu. Yeah. I remember his story.
Yeah. So like that was really what was going on at that time, and like I don't know if it still happens today. I'm probably out of the loop, but like that was very real back then. And the vein that kept us sort of funded and kept things moving was Bitcoin, right? Because like that's why Cody came. Cody could care less about crypto or Bitcoin. It's just it allowed him to continue doing what he wanted to do, right? Like he couldn't be stopped by the payment processors or things like that.
Got it. Yeah. I want to welcome my co-host Klaus. Klaus, welcome. See you here.
Yeah, good evening, guys. How's it going? Sorry I was a bit late. I was in uni. I was in a meeting type of thing. But hey, Julian, how's it going, man?
Hey, Klaus, pretty good.
Todo bien. Aquí estamos tranquilo y yeah, Julian, we are a bilingual stream because our audience are both here in the States and in Latin America. But yeah, Klaus, we were just covering the early adopters of Bitcoin. We're talking early the 2010s, 2012s, the hackers, and then what comes after. So
yeah.
Klaus, have I ever asked you when did you get involved in cryptocurrency, and what was your experience with that? Because you're about my age.
I don't even want to talk about it. So I knew about it in 2016, but I didn't do a damn thing until last year. So I had the chance to buy Bitcoin when it was at like a 4 digits type of thing, like low 4 digits. So, but
right.
It's whatever.
Yeah, no, I remember setting up Coinbase, and Coinbase today in their balance sheet, what is it, 500 million, the IPO, and the institutional side is adapting, and there's a lot to come. I'm really curious to see where we go a year from now. But following the timeline, so Julian, so after 2014. Where are you during from 2014 to 2016 when there's like a spike in the Bitcoin price, and there's like Ethereum and all these other coins coming into the sphere?
So me personally, you got to remember, guys, right? Like for me, it was about the technology, right, and like the culture. Not as extreme as like Amir and Cody, but I'd say maybe somewhere between Vitalik and like some of the people who stayed stateside, like Elizabeth Plache, people like that, who just were like wanted to see Bitcoin have a friendlier face in the United States because of its technology, right? So I became a lifetime member of the Bitcoin Foundation because I liked what Gavin was doing. He was sort of talking with the government and explaining blockchain to them and the possibilities, I was okay with that. I liked that part of things. So I supported the Bitcoin Foundation. I wanted to see it, businesses figure out cool ways to use it. And like in the New York ecosystem at the time, there were a lot of people who were doing cool things. Like you see how like Venmo today, you can pay with like a QRC code. Like we were doing that in 2013. That's how crypto used to get spent. Like Bitcoin, people would walk around with their phones and scan QRC codes. So like people were working on POS systems. Charlie was a partner at Ever, which was a bar in Midtown, and you can pay for your drinks off your phone in Bitcoin, right? So like that was kind of already normal. Like we were doing shit like that, and it was really interesting projects, right? So like that's what I was more interested in. But then like I just started seeing just a lot of speculators, right? You started seeing this is when sort of Dogecoin came up, and right, like it was just like, it was just a lot of speculation. The shitcoin era was huge, and I'm not gonna lie, I used to use my Bitcoin Magazine email, to kind of, do a little pump and dumps here, but it just was so bad, man. Exchanges, Mt. Gox had that big thing in Japan where they closed down, stole like half the money, and so like it was just. Yeah, there you go. Those lost.
Yeah, this is 2015. Bitcoin regulators coming to New York.
Ben Losky, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like it just was, a lot of speculators, and I think the point was just missed. And like I said, it pretty much freaked me out. Everyone I knew going to jail or hiding in some fucking compound in Spain, right? So like pretty much I just went to straight tech, right? I was like, you know what? I'm going to work at a Silicon Valley company and learn how these people are building businesses. And that's what I did.
What was, since New York was clamping down on regulation, what was the attitude in Silicon Valley? Were they more receptive to Bitcoin and probably,
no, not at all. Like I said, they kind of just ignored it. They didn't care. They didn't give two fucks. They didn't, they were busy, like, trying to build like Airbnb and, DoorDash and like, all these other Instacart,
Robinhood, right?
Yeah. They couldn't give two shits about Bitcoin. And you can see that because Vitalik actually got $100,000 from Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel gave him $100,000, told him to move out to San Francisco, and I guess would have funded whatever he wanted. And Vitalik was like, "Nah, fuck you guys," and he left. So like I guess for Peter Thiel, he thought that was probably going to be a big thing, but I mean, honestly, at that time, I don't think he even knew. Probably $100,000 probably was nothing for Vitalik at that time. But yeah, they made half-ass attempts to, but nobody was really focused on building crypto startups. And that's why you see, like, really, I think the turning point for me, from my point of view, was around 2016. 2016, what you saw was the explosion of the concept of NFTs, right, with CryptoKitties. And, that seemed like, wow, people were really interested in that. And Dapper Labs, the people who made CryptoKitties, they're Canadian, right? They're not a San Francisco group. They're Canadian. And so, that kind of got really popular. And back in the day, NFTs were known as, the first experimentation was known as colored coins. So the original colored coin project. And Vitalik himself was very, very focused on that, and me as well. That was the only time we spent a lot of time working together was on colored coins and thinking about colored coins. And he liked the idea so much that he integrated that directly into Ethereum, right? And that's what it became.
And for those that don't know, for the normies that are listening, how would you briefly explain it like the fifth grader? What is an NFT?
So,
because actually just last week I got 3 text messages from friends to buy Tory Lane's NFT album, and I'm like, yeah, they're going for $1 a pop, and then sell them later on,
Yeah.
the what is it? OpenSea, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so NFTs, what's really happening is we're using the blockchain to identify a unique piece of digital content, right? Or our digital item, right? And so the idea is that the blockchain, because no one can change it, right? No one can erase the information you put there, that this would be a great tool so that people can transparently see and identify things. It's like if you think about like a Dewey Decimal System and like a library. Imagine now this is the biggest library in the universe, right? And everything is there, right? It's for unique items. So now you can put things directly on the blockchain, and you know that this is a unique thing. So fungibility, that's like a finance economic term. It like what it means is like, so a dollar is fungible, right? If I have a dollar, you have a dollar, I give you my dollar, you give me yours. Nothing was lost, right? It's the same dollar, right? But for example, if I give you my couch and you give me your couch, that's not fungible, right? Because my couch might be in a better condition. It might be worth more than yours. You might have sentimental value to yours. Yours might be the only couch in that style. It's probably retired or an antique, right? So those are unique items. So most of the things in the universe are non-fungible, but everything in the digital world is basically fungible, right? Like if I post a video or an image, you can make 1 million copies online, and like it doesn't kind of fucking matter, right? Like you could just share it around. Now that these things are minted, quote unquote minted, or placed on the blockchain, that the original piece of content can be identifiable, and the rights to that can be bought, sold, and traded, right? So like, yeah, you can own like a copy of that image or video, but someone has the ability to say, I have the original, and it's verifiable globally by everyone now. So we're moving into this world, right, where the more time we spend digitally, the more money we spend online, that things are going to need to be identified digitally, right? And it's going to get even deeper, right? Right now we're like, people use MetaMask and like go to OpenSea and stuff like that, and like some people are working on like mobile apps, aka myself, using crypto. But really, where this is going is like what Facebook is doing with Oculus, where like they're calling it sort of the metaverse, right? Where it's like a mix of virtual reality and all things digital, where you're just going to be like in that world for the most of your waking day, or maybe even all of the night. We might even begin to sleep in VR. And so like that's coming in the next 10, 15 years. And if you think about like what Elon Musk is doing with the brain chips and stuff, it's just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper.
Okay, dumb question. How do you sleep in VR? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So they're going to want you to do that, not for you, right? But for them, right? Because if they have the data of like implicitly, let's say even your biometrics or your sleep hours, or maybe they manage to figure out how to interact with like your eye movements overnight, that's just information that they have about you that no one has right now. So like it's easy for you to do that because you feel like you're asleep, but basically you're sharing more information with them. So it's like an easy thing for them to do if you decide to buy into it. And trust me, somebody's gonna do it. Somebody's gonna come up with like some app, some game, talk about, hey, fall asleep faster. Here's this background. Here's this beautiful music. Just keep the headset on all night. And right, they're gonna collect biometrics from you. So yeah, we're gonna start, and then people are gonna try to be like, oh, learn while you sleep, like all that bullshit. So people are gonna get good at it, try to perfect it, but that data about you is what they're really after.
Right. Yeah, the data is key now. Did you? I recently saw, what was the name of that movie? Reflected that with the data being valuable. I forgot the name of the movie. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, OpenSea.io. This is where you'll find the NFT and where they're selling for boo money. Heard Jay-Z and someone brought like a NFT of literally a rock for millions of dollars just last week. Yeah, we see right here is art going for hefty price.
So the big thing, they're starting to move into like gaming now. So it's basically collect and play. So the big example here is this thing called Axie Infinity, AXIE Infinity. They've sold over $1 billion worth of NFTs. Basically, in the game, as you're playing, every single item is an NFT. It's kind of like a Pokemon, Digimon kind of thing where there's these monsters and you buy them, you buy things for the monsters and blah, 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 blah. A lot of people have been putting money into this over the past 3 years. Like I said, over $1 billion. And it's pretty big. I mean, between DeFi and NFTs, right? Silicon Valley loves DeFi now. So between DeFi and NFTs, crypto is not going anywhere, guys. Like it's never going back to what it was, and that's why like I'm so excited, right? Like it's no longer really about bubbles, right? Like so much money, so much institutional capital is in it now, where like you have billionaires that run hundreds of billions of dollars worth of funds, in it now. Like it's theirs, the concrete, right? So like if you got in under 15K, your money is safe. Like it will never dip under 15K ever again, right? So right now, like 46, 45, whatever it is, might seem like a little high, and there's going to be ups and downs, but like
as a matter of fact, do you follow that Bitcoin stock to flow model? That's like highly math predictive, and it's been pretty consistent historically.
No.
But yeah, short medium term, I think right after we passed the hump of 50, we're looking at 70 next, right?
Yeah.
So what it says on the on this predictive model.
Yeah, I mean, right, like 15 years, it'll probably be like 1 million, right? Mm-hmm. So like it's just another, the way that people are looking at it now is like an asset class that you can measure the dollar against, right? So before it used to be kind of just like dollar, gold, stocks, and bonds, right? Now it's like dollar, gold, stocks, bonds, and Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And so pretty much when the economy is looking bad or a little, questionable, these big institutions will put more money into Bitcoin. And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and right now, cryptocurrency is the biggest hedge against inflation and against fiat. As a matter of fact, even Bitcoin is hammering gold because that would be the other option, the traditional option, right? Gold and silver. So it's interesting to see how that is playing out today.
What we used to say, or me specifically, back in 2013, was like the use case for crypto as a currency. Like I said, we are all focused on making sure that this was a usable currency. That's not where it's going now. Bitcoin is a substitute for gold. It will never be used as a currency. It's just too valuable, right? Mm-hmm. So, but back then, what we used to say is like, when we get off planet, and this was before Elon Musk and Mars and Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin, right? Like this was before all of that. But we used to say, when we get off planet, you're not going to be able to like throw somebody a stack of dollar bills, right? Like we are going to need an intelligent cryptocurrency to manage commerce off planet, like period, right? Like they're not going to, the people that begin to populate outer space are not going to like obey a central bank on Earth. Like they're not going to fucking do that, And so to like avoid that and scale in space, you're going to need some kind of cryptocurrency. So it's probably not going to be Bitcoin, but it's definitely going to be some cryptocurrency, right? And
right.
See, right. Like Elon loves Doge, right? You can already see they're like playing around with shit like that. So it's more in the hand.
I love Ethereum. It's a lot more appealing and it has a lot more to offer than Bitcoin. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, just look at this, the Ethereum DeFi here that I just pulled up on screen. Amazing.
Yeah, there are two really interesting projects in terms of coins for me. Like I said, I've pretty much seen it all. But I think where we are right now, one would be Solana.
Solana, yeah.
Yeah,
I tweeted about that past week, Solana. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Solana is just trying to be a better Ethereum, but I think they're going to get it right. And they have a lot of backing from the right people. FTX is in there, Andreessen Horowitz. Right? They got backing from the right people. And yeah, I mean, yeah, Solana is going to do well, and it's that ecosystem to build better tech on. Like we're going into what's known as Web 3.0, right? Where Web 3.0 is going to be all about ownership and utility. Well, Web 2.0 was just about connection, right? Like how do you connect people on Facebook? How do you connect on Twitter, right? Like all those Web 2.0. And then like in between 2 and 3 have been like, well, how do you engage closer, right? How do you pay people directly, like Patreon, Cameo, those kind of things, OnlyFans, right? Like how do you make financial transactions a little more liquid, right? And so Web 3.0 is going to be, okay, right, how do you own your all of your content, right? Like stop giving out for free on Instagram and Facebook, right? Like you own it and people buy it from you. And it's decentralized and transparent.
Yeah, I wanted to ask your thoughts because many of the audience, that they're in Latin America and all over. Your thoughts on El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender? What do you think is going to come from it? My first impression is that El Salvadorian Americans are the biggest group that's in remittances back to their home country, and with crypto, that's probably going to spark innovation, investment. The luxuries of Salvadorian Americans are going to trickle down even more to the locals there. But aside from that, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a smart move, right? It's big news because no one is doing it, but it seems pretty much common sense to me, right? Like governments hold gold reserves, silver, copper, all this bullshit. This is just an even better, faster appreciating asset class, right? Like he can't lose, is what I'm saying, right? Like Salvador can't lose. So, right, I think he did it because he's young and he's a smart guy and he moves aggressively. So yeah, I mean, they're going to benefit. This is in no way a negative. I just think it's not like going to be like everyone's not going to be using it, right? Unless something's really fucked up in Salvador, I don't think every person is going to be using it. But I think it's generally good for the country, especially like if you compare like how Ecuador uses the dollar and how like Venezuela kind of is fucked, right? I think Salvador, Salvador sits in a nice place where it seems like now they're taking control over their own monetary policies and financial freedom. This would definitely be like, this is the only way they can do that. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it's like, oh my God, a fucking amazing, like the best fucking decision, but this is the only path in that direction right now. Like they're not going to do it borrowing from the IMF, borrowing from the World Bank. They're not going to fucking do it, dealing with Goldman Sachs. They're not going to do it drilling for minerals. Like holding crypto or doing business with crypto is the only way to really get ahead. So I think, it's the right choice.
Yeah, as Klaus and I last first up, we were talking about El Salvador's adopting this, and Bank of America giving the 4 points that I just mentioned, and the success that will come from it. And the IMF was pretty much all against it, all up in arms about El Salvador, adopting Bitcoin. So it's crazy.
What I'll share with you guys, right? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? And so like even back in 2013, where we thought we were doing cool shit, in Africa, there was a project called M-Pesa. And we were hearing about M-Pesa and it fucking blew our minds. We're like, yo, we are over here with smartphones and we're the richest country on the planet and we can't figure this out. M-Pesa used to allow Africans from multiple African nations to transfer money digitally through their cell phones. And these were dumb phones. These were those Sony Ericsson bricks. Yo, they had an entire economy on digital payments through M-Pesa. just out of necessity. This no marketing, no PR, no startup tech fluff. Like, dude, M-Pesa was a fucking amazing. So if they could do that, right, 8 years ago, I have no doubt that Salvador is going to come up with something cool and interesting just out of necessity, right? So, like, you know, every region and every country is going to have a different spin and different use of cryptocurrencies because it's just that flexible, right? Like, and we don't have the same needs, right? Like here in the US, we don't have the same needs as in Latin America or Africa or MENA or even China for that matter, right? But the general tool of crypto and blockchain is just powerful, right? It's just, you know, it's one of those things, man. I'm telling you, like, I'm telling you guys, from someone that was deep in it early on, we knew the government didn't want us to do these things. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why. It takes away the credibility from their central banking system. Right? Like, this is not what they want at all.
Yeah. Belly of the beast. Yeah. Plus, any thoughts or comments on the?
No, I'm just listening in. It's super interesting stuff. But I would encourage. Do you guys want to do a little bit of FUD busting? Because I see a lot of like nonsense that people are saying in the comments. We can just kind of go into it one by one. And,
let's get it.
All right, so let's see. So King says, I don't like the idea of digital currency. You know, like China has like a chip or something like that, I heard, and they can easily shut down people's bank accounts or erase their currency. Do you guys know what he's talking about?
Is he talking about AI and the social credit system? Because I think Bitcoin is, or crypto is the antithesis of
that. Yeah. So right now, crypto is basically banned and monitored in China, right? Like, they're not playing around. They don't want their people openly buying and trading this stuff, right? Like, it pretty much everything is fucking illegal in China, right? Like, Google is illegal in China, Facebook is illegal in China, you know? So yeah, I mean, that's the worst case scenario. That, you know, like, China is all about control, right? Like, they surveil and monitor all of their citizens, and if you don't do what they want you to do, I guess there will be some kind of repercussions, right? They're not. I don't think they're killing you, but they will re-educate you, put you in a fucking camp, and make sure that you do what they say, or else they're not letting you go.
Right? So, that's why it's really interesting to see how the world is going to respond if China is aggressive towards Hong Kong and Taiwan, because most of the semiconductor industry is in Taiwan.
Right. You know. So no one else acts like that, right? Only China acts like, well, North Korea, right? But I mean, North Korea doesn't have the technology to monitor its people, so they do just kill people, right? Like, but like, no one else acts that way, right? So when it comes to like North America, South America, Europe, and even parts of Africa, right? That's just not what's going on. Like, you know, this is not. There's no interest in sort of robotic slave control, right? So crypto, right? So here, I think King 2 is conflating the idea of digital currency with cryptocurrency. Digital currency is really like just a regular online bank account, right? They can close it. They can freeze your money. They can, you know, stop you from using a debit card. You know, they can know where you swiped it, and, you know, watch the camera at the ATM. Like, they could do that right now, right? That is digital currency from like Chase.com when you log in, right? Like, that's digital currency. Right. Cryptocurrency, it is digital. It is a currency, but no one can stop you from interacting ever at all, right? And that's what I'm saying. That's the power of the blockchain. You know, as a matter of fact, right, like, today I could have technically millions of wallets if I wanted to. If I had a bunch of computers and enough time and a pretty decent, I guess, electric bill, sort of, I have millions of wallets. And no one would really know who I am or where I'm moving money until I deal with the banks, right? But if you're really moving that much money, if you really wanted to, there are literally multiple places on earth where you could go physically exchange cryptocurrency for cash, right? So
Right.
this is a new paradigm in being able to not be surveilled, not be controlled, and just not be stopped from interacting with the monetary system. But again, right, like that's a very first world problem, right? Like only people in the first world are interested in like obfuscating financial regulation in that fashion. So I don't think that the developing world has to worry about that right now. I think what their focus is probably they're worried about the corruption in their countries, and right, the monetary system I think is probably the least of the worries. I think that what they can do is benefit from a lot of the innovation happening in first world countries because it's first world money that's really inflating these prices, right? It's like us, right? Like with these stimulus checks and quantitative easing, we're pumping billions every day into cryptocurrency, right? So if you are involved in the third world, you get the benefit from that growth much more than we will actually.
The luxuries of capitalism trickling down. Amazing.
All right, so here's another FUD from Libyan nationalist. He says currency don't matter. It will all collapse one day. Cryptocurrency can't save you from lead.
Yeah, I mean, right. This is a philosophical idea that right force. What is it? Might is right, right? Yeah, I mean, in general, nothing holds up against right a bullet or an army or an invasion, right? Like, I mean, that's the human story. Like, none of this will matter. They can erase religions, they can erase family lines, historical, artifacts, money, right? Like, sure. But at the end of the day, really, cryptocurrency would probably be the most resilient out of all of them. Right now, there are about 12 Bitcoin nodes in space, like literally in fucking space. So, right, like, unless you could physically get to those, you can't really bring down the Bitcoin network, right? And who knows? There are probably even more in space that we don't know of, right? So
amazing,
right? So that's what I'm saying, right? Like, it's just not like this is that kind of thing where, like, I don't know, like literally people, like, let's say we have an Armageddon event, and like, I don't know, aliens come 2,000 years from now. If they can read binary, they'll be able to interact with Bitcoin, right? So yeah, man, like this is a totally new shift, right? Because like I don't think we understand what like permanence means, right? Like this is permanently done. We've never had that ability before, right? Papyrus paper disintegrates, stone monuments break down, right? Like we've never ever had anything that is permanent. And code in the form of blockchain is permanent. It exists in all places at once.
So Julian, I have a simple question. So if you were to come across a beginner that says, I want to get into Bitcoin, what are the 3 books I should read? What would you recommend?
Books. I don't recommend any books.
Should they read? Should they just go out and create a Coinbase or a Gemini account? What do you recommend?
There's maybe one book. There's just one.
What should they do with their Biden bucks, with their stimulus check?
Yeah. So there's maybe one book, and it really is just the guy who wrote it. He's a Bitcoin OG. He's a really good guy. As a matter of fact, around 2016, he had made not a single penny from Bitcoin. And he'd been around for a long time, 2012, 2013. And people gave him Bitcoin, made him a millionaire. And it's Andreas Antonopoulos. He wrote a book. So I would say if you're interested in reading about Bitcoin, I'd say definitely pick up Andreas's book. It's both technical and just like informative. But besides that, I would say if you're in the United States, just go with Coinbase. Coinbase is the safe, secure way to immediately interact with cryptocurrency today, right? Like you'll get a protected, safe wallet. You'll be able to see pricing. You'll be able to see other cryptocurrencies that are relevant in the space, and you'll pretty much be good to go, right? Just remember your private and public keys. I mean, I haven't used Bitcoin in a year. I mean, I haven't used Coinbase in years, so I don't know if they've changed the interface. But just remember, your public and private keys are kind of like your password, right? You don't want to give those out to other people because then they have access to your account. But yeah, I mean, it's as easy as that, right? Like all the other unique, cool shit, experts are just going to be building them and embedding them into like the platforms that they make. So pretty soon, like the next Facebook is going to be built on crypto, and you probably won't even know it.
Right. I mean, isn't Facebook building a digital wallet of some sort?
They probably are.
Yeah,
they're trying to do everything, right? They had that issue with Libre and everything,
Libre.
right? And that just goes to show you, right? The government really was like, "Yo, you can't do this." You know?
Crazy.
So like they were interested in them not doing that, and it was such a big issue that a $500 billion business like Facebook was like, "Okay, you know what? Yeah, let's not do this." Yeah.
Fair enough. Angelo says, I feel if space does get colonized, colonies will probably have a singular space currency while Earth will still have multiple currencies. Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, sure. Absolutely. It would definitely. So like, this isn't new, right? Like if you look back even in the United States, right? Like before the Civil War, each state had its own currency, like its own dollar bills that it printed. Right. So like if you had that money, you could buy and sell things in like the state of Massachusetts. Right. So like, I mean, this is how people do things. What we're trying to figure out is how we can do it faster for more people. Right. And with like population exploding and like when you think about what space colonization is going to be like, it's really going to be like the pirate era in the Caribbean all over again. Right. Where like little groups like, oh, the Spaniards took over this. The French took over this, the British took over this. Oh, pirates, conquistadors. Like, it's going to be that all over again. And no one is going to follow any fucking rules, right? There are going to be space pirates. Trust me. You can fucking quote me, guarantee in 200 years, they will most definitely be space pirates. And these people are not going to give a fuck. They're not going to follow any rules. And they're going to be out there trying to, get cryptocurrency because that's the only thing that's going to matter. So like, I can't pretend to know what's going to be the difference between like civilizations and countries on Earth as compared to space, but space is going to be its own thing, man. And there's going to be people that like, just autonomously go out and say, yo, this is my spaceship and I'm going to live and die here. I'm going to have my kids born on this ship and, fuck Earth. Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't care.
Do you think Elon's estimates are right? Within the next 5 years, we'll be traveling to space, back and forth, probably.
Maybe it'll probably be for the rich people, right? Unless it's not gonna be pretty, right? Like if he does take normal people, he's gonna work them to the bone, and they're gonna fucking die in horrible conditions trying to build up Mars. Right? It's not gonna be pretty, So I wouldn't want to be one of those first ones that go in the next 5 years. Maybe in 40, if I still, if I'm still strong and lucid, 40 years, 50 years, I'll be more interested there. But like our grandchildren, oh yeah, they're gonna, like I said, some of them might even be born off planet.
Oh man, nice.
Yo guys, I have to go now because I have to wake up early tomorrow for school. But yo, Julian, thanks a lot for coming in, and hopefully we can do this a bit, more frequently. Love to have you on the show. It's just to have your insights. Really interesting stuff you're talking about, man.
Cool, man. Yeah, this is great, man.
Yeah, we're close to gonna wrap up in like 5 to 10 minutes. I'll drop the StreamYard link on the comments. Read the comments. Julian, extend the invitation for you to join us on Noah's channel and edify and educate young Hispanics that want to get into entrepreneurship. Many Hispanics would want to hear your insight and expertise.
Oh yeah,
what you
guys,
have to say in that.
and yeah, one thing I didn't say at all. So yeah, I'm a two-time venture-backed tech entrepreneur, right? So I've raised money. I've raised now over $2 million for two separate companies in tech. One was a marketplace, and one right now is a crypto project actually that deals with NFTs. So I'll probably be, if you guys let me, I'll probably be back on the show, sort of explaining that once we go public. But I do have definitely insights about what the Latino community, how they should be thinking about tech, and that is definitely possible. It's not easy, but it's possible.
Cool. I know. Noah mentioned it. He'll be free tomorrow at noon. I don't know if what was your schedule that we talked about prior to this, Julian. But we'll definitely keep in touch, and that's definitely a topic that we'll love to talk about. But no, thank you. And I don't know, any final thoughts, guys? Plus.
No, I'm good, man. It's just really interesting talk, and hopefully I'll be able to go back into it to listen to the first parts that I wasn't able to listen to.
Sounds good. Perfect. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to say that once again, it was an honor to have you on here, Julian. I think you dropped a lot of insight in this hour that we had to talk about Bitcoin and those early days and what you came across. Love to have you back on and talk about entrepreneurship in depth with a much bigger audience than what we have here. I'll tell you that. So
cool, man. Yeah,
cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, I'm gonna broadcast